Welcome back to another episode of What Are You Made Of with your boy, the unstoppable Mike C-Roc. I am back from the freaking COVID. It didn't stop me. I fought it off, and I'm so glad to be back with you, with my guest, Bill Hauser, and just back in general extroverting, man, because it's so important to extrovert. It leads to success, and you can feel it when you're stuck in isolation. So I'm glad to be back with you guys. I have a good friend of mine from Clubhouse, and he's also a Philly native and Philly sports fan, which I love about him, and also fellow Grant Cardone follower. And Bill Hauser's in the house. He's the CEO of the SMB Team. He's a speaker. He's a husband, marketing magician, and dirt bike enthusiast. In the last 4 years, Bill has scaled his law firm growth company, the SMB Team, to 300% year-over-year growth. But it wasn't always that way. Bill's entrepreneurial spirit was influenced by the 2008 recession that hit his family's business, which we'll get into more detail. And, I think this is one of the things we talk about a lot. I wrote in my book about how you turn things into rocket fuel. I think Bill's done that. So which we're going to find out about that in that journey. And from those trying times, Bill set out on a mission to recession-proof each and every business he could touch so that no business owner would ever experience that same pain again. And man, that's a common theme for me and a lot of people that I talk to. Bill, welcome to the show.
Man, I'm excited about this.
Yeah, look, so you pour your heart out and your mind and everything out on Clubhouse a lot of times, man. And I sit there and listen. And although a lot of the stuff I've heard before and experienced before, you've always pop in some new thing, or maybe I didn't hear it the right way before. And it catches me the next time I listen to you speak. And first of all, I want to thank you for doing that, because I know we're not paid to share on Clubhouse. And I appreciate your investment into that and the audience there. But Bill, we always start the show with this question here, keeping with the theme, or I'm sorry, the tradition. What are you made of?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I've actually never been asked that question in an intellectual setting where I actually have to give a thoughtful response. It's always been like, what are you made of? It's like
like a coach or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the first thought when you kind of planted the seed that you're going to ask me this question is the first word that came to my mind is I am made of habits, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what I am made of. I'm a person who went through, the stuff I went through in 2008 and everything that I've learned and succeeded and failed at in business in a very short time period. At the end of the day, I am made of habits, right? And I am only as good as my weakest habit, right? As Warren Buffett once said, the weakest link on your chain is often going to be your downfall, right? So I would look at that and I would reverse engineer that into what habits, right? Well, in life, the only way we can live life is through our mornings, our days, our evenings, and then a compilation of those days would be our weeks, our months, our quarters, our years, packages of 10 years, right? Plus, right? So ultimately, if we kind of step back and look at like I'm a compilation of habits, well, that would mean that those listening, all of us are really a compilation of what we do in the morning, what we do during the day, what are our musts, what we do at night, what we do every week to plan for our week, right? And to execute throughout our week and make course corrections, what we do throughout our month, right? Meaning where we make strategic decisions, we do a little bit of analysis, research to steer the ship on a more longer term basis, right? What we do throughout a quarter, which is where we make clear quarterly goals, like quarterly rocks, as they call them in the book Traction, the EOS system. I call them quarterly boulders, which I can get into later. So quarterly initiatives, quarterly priorities, and then obviously what I believe is the second most important document you ever make in your business is what I call the annual planning document, where you actually plan out exactly what you're going to do throughout a year in revenue on a monthly basis, by revenue source, all of that. And then ultimately, the most important document in business, in my opinion, is what's called the vivid vision. And this is a 3-year habit. So every 3 years, creating a clear picture for where you are, not where you'd like to, not would be nice if we went there. No. Where you are going 3 years from today, right? So that would be my answer to your question, is on a 3-year basis, annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily basis, I am simply a compilation of habits. That's what I am physically made of.
well, I love that. And, also, I also noticed that similar to me, you're made up of mentors and coaches, because I picked up a lot of, and I know exactly who you're talking about. And I know the Traction EOS, Gino Wickman. Yep. And who's the other guy that was in the EOS?
Vern Harnish.
Yeah. So them, and then some Grant, and then also I noticed some Cameron Harrell.
Yep.
Yeah. So like, that's a great thing, because a lot of people will not talk about this stuff when they know it, because they think that they're talking about other people's stuff, but really we're all a compilation of all of our experiences that we've gotten from, things we've gone through, then the things where we've looked outward to other people for help. Yep. And then we come, and then eventually, and I know I've seen you already do this, and I've done it, is you start to basically reframe their information with your experiences, when then it becomes the Bill Hauser method.
Yep.
Whatever that might be called one day, like you already talked about boulders instead of rocks, which is part of that. So yeah, I love that. Now take us back, Bill, like growing up, man. I mean, did you grow up outside of Philly?
I can bring you through. Yeah, I grew up right in the Philly area. And just to add to your last point, we did make a whole system. So I have proprietary daily planning documents I made. We have a management framework that we call the fast growth framework, that ties together everything I learned from Cameron, everything I've learned from Cameron Harold of 1-800 Got Junk, everything I've learned from Vern Harnish of Scaling Up, everything I've learned from Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach, everything I learned from Gino Wickman. These are all people I've interviewed on my show, similar to yours, and who I pay for mentors of mine. And that is actually when you are getting closer to becoming a thought leader, not thought follower, right? Is when you can actually start augmenting and DJing all of the lessons you've learned from mentors. And I think a lot of people don't take that next step to where let's invent our own system, right?
Yeah.
So but I'll go back to, we can go into that later. So Philadelphia, grew up in the Philadelphia area. However, I wasn't really here much. I was traveling around all over the United States, racing dirt bikes, semi-professionally. The year before I would have essentially went pro, or kind of gotten close to that, I ended up breaking my back, and I was a millimeter away from being paralyzed, which really put my priorities and life in order. I was in North Carolina, and I hit this 200-foot jump, huge jump. And I hit a kicker on my dirt bike on the face of the jump, and my bike completely nosedived while I was like 30 feet vertical in the air. And this huge downhill just tumbled down the hill like uncontrollably. I had this neck brace on. Had I not had the neck brace on, I would have snapped my neck and died. So the neck brace had a support system in the back that compressed against my upper vertebra, and it ended up fracturing 2 of my vertebrae. And then right after that, right after I started recovering from that, a whole chain of quite frankly, looking back, beautiful events, but at the time they didn't feel so beautiful, happened, where, our family went bankrupt. Everything we owned got repossessed. I walked in on my dad with another woman, and everything we owned got taken from us. Like, I literally can remember the day that my truck got repossessed, when I was in high school. And our house got repossessed. Everything we owned got repossessed. Every dirt bike I had, everything. And we had to move into a tiny little apartment. I didn't see my dad for years, because he moved away when all this happened. So you know, and growing up, I was known as, you know, decently well off, not rich, but like decent upper middle class. Right. And I always say, like, the thing I'm most grateful for is the fact that I had it all ripped away from me. And I was able to see the contrast of having a white picket fence life and then having that ripped and then going to nothing. Right. And the cool thing about both of them was I realized I didn't want either of those. Right. I was unhappy in both situations. I didn't want the white picket fence average. I definitely didn't want the broke. Right. So the only other option was to set really big targets. Right. And at that point in time, I decided, I found Grant online. I found Brian Tracy, Brendan Burchard, Tony Robbins. And I learned, you know, I was afraid of talking to people. I was somewhat extroverted, wasn't well practiced. I was afraid of quote unquote sales. Right.
Yeah.
So I decided, like, I was working construction with my dad. And I decided, listen, I'm not confronting my fears by doing this construction work. So I decided to look for sales jobs, and I got a job at yellowpages.com, which was fun. And I remember I told my sales manager during our interview, he asked me, how much money do you think you're going to make in your first year? This is my first legit job. Like, my only other real job was working at an insurance company.
I remember the story.
Yeah. So I looked him in the eye, and I just read the 10X rule from Cardone. He's like,
it's like an Italian guy that just came out of seeing Rocky.
Yeah, 100%. So I look my sales manager in the eye and I say, I'm going to make $400,000 in my first year. And he sits back and goes, he's like, he was waiting for me to like respond back as though I was kidding. And I didn't even smile. I was just like, right. I just was like straight faced the entire time. And I remember he like laughed, and then he started, then it was funny. I started seeing him process numbers in his head. It's like, well, if you hit this quota, I guess we've never had it happen. And I started realizing the power of setting big goals. Right. Mm-hmm. So when I entered that job, I literally got into a fight with my dad on the second day of me starting my job. I came into the office. There was blood on my shirt. Okay. Literally, there's blood on my white button-up shirt. And I got into the office at, I think, 6:05 a.m. I get into the office. I'm like, I'm going to master sales. Like, I refuse to be dependent on anyone or anything, because I can't let what happened to me happen to my future family and my goals and dreams. So I bought a sales training course from Cardone. It was $5,000. It was my first week at the job. It was 1 week training. 2 days in, I went 5K in debt. I had no money. And all I had to my name was Cardone Sales University. That's it. So I'm like pacing through the office, reciting objection. I didn't even know what I was selling on the second day. I'm just like, I get it. Yeah, I didn't expect you to have enough information, you know? Right. I'm going through all these objection handlers like a maniac. And this old sales manager who just was about to retire comes in. And he came in and he saw me rehearsing in there, and I didn't see him. And he comes up to me and he goes, what are you doing, Bill? And I was like, oh, I'm rehearsing. I'm going to be the best salesperson in the company. Right. And I was just like, everyone hated me in the office, by the way, because I had to talk myself into it so much that I unconsciously just was saying my goals so much that
the certainty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were uncomfortable by your certainty that you were pushing it.
100%. Yeah. So he asked, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to be the best in the company. I will be number one by the end of this year. Right. That's why I'm here. And he was like, okay. And he looked down at my shirt. He's like, what's that on your shirt? And I just immediately was like, blood. I got in a fight with my dad this morning. Right. And he was just like, and he looked up at me, and I have actually never said this before. He looked up at me and said, you have a deeper reason than being the number one salesperson here. And he walked out of the room. And I didn't understand that until years later. But he was right. I didn't know at that time that I was driven by immense fear. It was all fear. And I think a lot of our success in life comes from an unconscious fear of something we're trying to avoid. And then over time, once our survival needs get met on our path to success, we then go through a process of questioning, okay, my fears didn't come true. What's next? What's my real motivator? What's the non-fear-based motivator? What's the big picture? And I remember I went through a ton of confusion. What is that? I just want to do sales, right? And I had to go through this process of reflection and through the process of, like you said, finding mentors, which has literally been my whole growth journey. You know, we look back, me starting SMB Team, which was 4 years ago now. Our first year, we did 466,000 in revenue. Second year, we did 1.45 million. Our third year, we did 4 million. And our fourth year, which is this year, will surpass $10 million in revenue.
Congrats, dude.
Year,
that's awesome, man.
I appreciate that. But just getting started, as I know.
Yeah, no, but still the growth. I mean, you know, you gotta acknowledge it, but not be satisfied, right?
100%. Yeah. But next year we're on track to do 20 million. And our target is 256 million per year by 2026. So what is the growth trajectory? Now we have 35 full-time W-2 employees. Like, it's not like a 4-hour work week business. Like, I'm in a physical office space with physical cubicles and standing desks with every cubicle and breakout rooms and a conference room and my office and my COO's office and 2 kitchens. And now we're buying an office in Tampa. We made 3 acquisitions in the last, 90 days or so. And what is every single growth spurt in sales from when I was at YP to now at SMB Team is I find one mentor. That's it. Every single growth spurt in my personal life, professional life, business is one mentor. But then the question after you find that one mentor, I found, is can you actually shut everything out and listen to that one mentor, right? Because most people diversify their mentors and never really execute on any one of them. And so what I've done, maybe by luck, quite frankly, is blinders, right? Just like one person, like when I learned from Jason Fladlin on how to do webinars, he's all I listened to. I didn't listen to any other webinar coaches, right? When I learned from Grant on sales, I didn't listen to any other sales trainers, right? When I learned from Cameron Herold, I didn't question his process over all the other processes that I learned. So I just think that people are afraid to model. But that would be my, in a nutshell, from going from, bankrupt to where I'm at now. And if I were to say like my biggest fear, my number one biggest fear right now is that Bill is going to die, the crazy guy with all these big ideas. So still to this day, I am worried deep down that all of this was just luck. Every success I've ever had was just luck and good timing. Yeah. It's all going to crumble. And I'm just going to be the crazy guy with big ideas that's broke when I'm dead.
Yeah. Well, I got some things that I can recommend to help you with that fix that like that. I want to ask you a question going back to your father's situation and your parents' situation, the repossessions and all that. What are some of the things, because as a kid, and I know you're similar to the way I am, I'm very observant. What did you observe to happen that went wrong in that situation that you know not to do now?
Yeah. Number one was my dad contracted when the economy did. So economy contracted 2007, contraction starts happening. Immediately, he contracted. He said, how can we save money? How can we reduce our marketing spend here? How can we not spend as much here? And that right there was the cancer of the entire company and our future, quite frankly, was the decision to contract, right? And so that was the by far biggest thing that I observed. The second thing that I observed was that my dad and my family business, they stumbled into it. There was no plan. It was just, did we have a good year? No. Okay. Every year tax season would come. My parents would meet in the kitchen, and it's funny. Like they would ask this question. Like they would just ask, was it a good year? And they would talk about it at the kitchen table. And I remember as a kid, I was like, that seems like so victim like, was it a good year? Why don't
Yeah. Did it happen to you? Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So there was no plan. It was just, what can we personally take home and milk out with this current business model that we have? And I got really fed up with this whole solopreneur movement, which now I look back on and I see, I just get really fed up when people start businesses for their own selfish reasons. Like, yes, you need to be selfish. You need to fill your own cup, but dude, nobody wants to work to just make you rich. Like in today's day and age, you got to build something that can make other people rich, right? That can make other people want to be a part of your team. So my dad wasn't worried about that. He was worried about how cheap can I pay everyone? So he was paying all these hourly workers that were just swinging hammers for him, never hired a manager in 20 years, right? Because it threatened him. It threatened his quote unquote skill set, right?
Yep.
So there was that component of it as well. But if I had to sum it up, it was no plan and just gambling every year and contracting when the economy got contracted.
Yep. Makes 100% sense, man. And so how did you get into the line of work that you're in now, helping attorneys, I guess, grow their business? Is that what you basically do? You're helping law firms grow their. So I guess, is it a consulting business? Is it a marketing business? Is it a combination? What is it, and how did you get into it?
Yeah, great question. So there's a couple pieces to that. So one of my mini purpose statements that I always repeat to myself is that I create a blue ocean service that has the biggest positive impact on the industries that I enter. So when I started SMB Team, it was just a marketing agency. We were managing pay-per-click Google Ads campaigns for all different types of businesses, right? And our first bucket of clients were contractors. None of them would pay their bill. So I don't know why. Maybe it was just luck of the draw for the 5 guys that we had as contractor clients at that time. I don't know, just a lot of payment problems. And I just felt they didn't really.
You're talking about construction contractors.
Correct.
Yeah.
Construction.
Yeah.
So we had a lawyer client come in as a referral, and they were so happy with us. They're like, oh my God, your marketing is amazing. And I realized later that the business model, if you're in a consulting agency type business, the businesses you choose to serve is the number one tie to whether you'll be successful. If you want to serve hairdressers, sorry, chances are you're not going to build a hairdresser marketing company. Margins are too low. They're not going to be able to pay for it, right? Or value it because it's so low transaction value. So for attorneys, I realized their average profit margin was 5 to 10 times higher than an average contractor. So if we can get them one client, they were 5 to 10 times happier from a net profit perspective. Not to mention there's additional schooling requirements. So they were a bit more business savvy. Not much, but a little bit more. I mean, it's crazy. But so we decided to course correct and steer the ship completely towards, we're just going to do pay-per-click marketing for lawyers. Then we realized pay-per-click marketing is hard to retain clients in. If you look at marketing agencies, most people cancel their services with a pay-per-click marketing company. The reason is people view it as a fungible service. They view it as, I'll try this new pay-per-click campaign, doesn't work, turn it off.
Yep.
Okay. Not to mention, they don't even have proper marketing expectations in the first place. So we, instead of saying, this is where people get the own your niche saying wrong, okay? where a lot of people say, like, oh, pick one niche and master it. Dude, you could be in the wrong niche, right? You got to pivot. So I realized attorneys didn't need just pay-per-click marketing. They needed full service marketing, right? More importantly, they needed coaching, because when I would interview clients, which I do all the time on Saturdays, I'd book out three-hour calls with my clients and just ask them, what are your real problems? Like, if I could solve X, what would that be worth to you? If I would just writing, no sales pitch, just
like a research. Yeah.
I mean, unlimited research, like pay. I mean, you would be in I probably have 50 single space pages of just consumer research, right? In my Google Drive. Kept seeing the same thing. Need to know how to run my business better. Don't know how to run my business. Don't know how to delegate. So instead of saying we're a marketing agency for lawyers, right? We decided, well, how can we solve the real problem they have, and created a coaching business. So now we have, I think it's just around 140 attorney coaching clients, paying us an average of $2,000 per month on 12-month contracts. It's a multi-million-dollar coaching business, that we have quarterly workshops, we have live weekly calls, we have tools and accountability groups built. And, that was another business model innovation. So to answer your question, what are we now? Well, we do full service marketing for attorneys, meaning we do their website, we do their SEO, we do their PPC, Google ads, we do their Facebook ads, all in one umbrella. But then we also combine that with our coaching program, and we've created a combined package that's called Elite 360 Squared, which is our blue ocean, quote unquote, product. So that's how we differentiate ourselves in the market. And when you look at our revenues, the reason we were able to triple this year, or more than triple, or just under triple, is because of the business model design. It was not the sales and marketing. Okay, yes, we do a lot of it. We have a $2.2 million ad budget, but per year. This year it'll be 4 million this upcoming year.
Focus on attorneys, law offices.
Focus on attorneys. Yep. And then we're going to outgrow that. And then we're going to take our franchise prototype for attorneys, and then we're going to bring it to other verticals like dental and construction. We'll go back into.
Really?
Yeah, we will, but we'll go into certain revenue criteria.
Yeah.
But it's a blue ocean business model where we're combining coaching with full service marketing. And every single year we had the humility to ask ourselves the key question to rapid growth. Am I in the right business? Mm-hmm. If the answer is no, change it yesterday.
Yep. I love it, man. So, and what's SMB stand for?
Small, medium business team. Small, mid-sized.
There you go. I like that. All right, cool. So 2 more questions as we wrap up here.
That's another funny point. Yeah. The name doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
You know how to market, like SMB could stand for anything. Right?
Yep.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, I just heard about that. Like Grant was out in Pueblo talking to Matt Smith about Wake Up Pueblo or whatever, and they were trying to figure out the name, and Grant's like, it doesn't fucking matter. The name doesn't matter, guys.
Yeah.
No, I agree. So what's got you most excited right now? As far as like what you're into right now, like thing that you're most proud of, maybe that you're working on, like what's that thing right now?
Good question. I think I'm excited to learn more about becoming a level 5 leader. Learning the balance of balancing short-term demands with long-term initiatives. Like that is what keeps me engaged. Is I would be, here's the thing. A lot of people say, follow your passion. I disagree. I think most people's passions are not, you haven't tried enough things to know what the passion is. You haven't tried enough things to know what you're truly passionate about. And B, it's not the right business model. Doesn't matter what I'm passionate about. What matters is what can create the movement or the mission that I want to create, right? So the way I look at it right now is I'm not necessarily looking for excitement. So your question was, what am I excited about? Excitement is earned. I don't believe excitement should be when you have a win and you're like, dang, I'm capable of doing that. Wow. I'm excited for a moment for just setting the next big goal. Right.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, what I wish people would look for is what's the thing you'll never get distracted from? That's the key. So, like, rather than excitement, you can be excited about ponies. You can be excited about tap dancing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's the thing that you are insatiably curious about? And for me, it's personal development. And in my opinion, the hardest form of personal development is learning how to be a level 5 leader. The balance of humility and inconquerable will. It is the hardest balance that John Maxwell talked about. How do you balance being humble enough to admit you don't have the answers, humility, with we're going here by X day, right? How do you make other people want to be a part of your mission? How do you make other people get richer than you? How do you create a movement that's more than you? These are hard questions, and I'm ready to spend my entire life happily learning everything I don't know about level 5 leadership.
Do you okay? And I got to throw this in there before I ask my final question.
Yeah.
Do you ever realize that you've absorbed so much information from your mentors and coaches that, because this happens to me, that you don't realize how advanced you actually are? Do you ever notice that? Now, I'm not saying that we know everything, and you're a point where like, I know everything and this and that. There's so much out there we don't know, right? That too. But like, I find myself a lot of times, and I'll get around people that I used to be, I don't know if I want to say awed by, inspired by, really look up to, and then realize the amount of insecurities that they have and the knowledge that I picked up from other places that has actually elevated me to be on their level. I don't know if you've seen that or not. And I see it in Clubhouse, but I also see it with, I hang out with a lot of successful people, and I start to see the insecurities that are stemming in their lives. And I'm just blown away by it. Yeah. That I don't have those same insecurities, but they've been so much more successful, so to speak. But I don't know if you've experienced that or not.
All the time. Yeah. I feel like I don't know anything about anything all the time. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I'm just like, why, how did I get here? What day is it?
But then you get into a situation where you're around somebody and then you're giving advice to someone, and you're like, holy shit, like I do know a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we have a very successful coaching program is, I'm literally just sharing how we scale our company to other businesses.
But Bill, is that a self-worth issue for us to an extent?
It probably is. And here's the thing is the fact that you and I are mentor seekers is not only a sign of success, but it's also a sign of a form of healthy intellectual insecurity. However, the question is, how much of that is unhealthy and how much of that is a minimum requirement for rapid growth and rapid learning? I don't know.
Yeah. Great topic. All right. Final question, man. What would it be for it to happen in the future that if you knew you accomplished it right now, it would light your ass up?
20 billion annual
in revenue.
Yep.
Okay. I love it. And that's very, very quick answer. Are you sure that's the only thing?
Well,
what's one more thing?
Well, I think 20 billion is, here's the thing. A lot of people make excuses about setting financial targets. I'll tell you this, setting financial targets, man, you are signing up for a fun roller coaster.
That's true.
Like, because the finance, like I've had learn how to have a team of almost 40 full-time people. And I have to inspire them, and I have to give them raises, and I have to give them bonus plans and incentive plans and them career growth paths. And, so it's like, if you're a good person and your goals are around capturing a certain percentage of marketplace value, for me, like if I earn 20 billion in revenue, I want to provide 200 billion in value. I want to capture 10% of the marketplace value I provide. That's my belief system. So I have no problem setting financial targets.
Yeah.
If I had to choose another one, my purpose that I write down every single day is I inspire 1 billion people to reach their full potential through my actions, right? And we have a core value at SMB Team that's called be the bar. And be the bar means be the example, right? Grant does this, you do this. So many people successful do this. I just want to be able to live my life in a way where instead of me yip yapping, I can just open the hood and say, hey, just look at exactly how we did it.
Attaboy.
Here's how we run our sales team. Here's how we run our marketing department. Here's how we run our leadership team. So I want to just live a life where every single thing that we do is public, out in the open. I almost wish I was filmed 24/7 because it forces that level of accountability. So that I want to inspire 1 billion people through being the example, through my actions in all areas of life.
That's what I was looking for. The money things, I have nothing against the money thing. It was just kind of boring. I wanted to get into that part right there because the money, of course, we want to go for 20 billion, man. Let's go. So, all right, man. So I want to, first of all, thank you for coming on the show. And how can my audience get in touch with you or engage with you? What's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah. So probably Instagram, Bill Hauser Biz, BILLHAUSER BIZ, Bill Hauser Biz. Give me a follow there. I post my morning routine practically every day, writing my goals, gratitudes, all that good stuff. I'm coming. And then the second place would be to go to tools.smbteam.com, where I give you kind of my personal development and business growth tools that work for any business. That link is tools.smbteam.com. That's it. If you're a law firm, reach out to us.
Perfect. Thanks, Bill, for being here. Thank you guys for listening to the What Are You Made Of podcast with your boy, the Unstoppable Mike C-Roc. Bill is in the club of Unstoppable without a doubt. And please go support him if you have a need. If you're in the attorney, the law space, and go let him know you heard him here on the What Are You Made Of podcast. Until next time, be unstoppable.